Have you ever picked up an old photograph, maybe one that's slightly faded at the edges, and suddenly felt a rush of memories you hadn't thought about in years? The sound of laughter, the smell of a kitchen from long ago, the feeling of being useful, needed, alive in that moment. Now imagine if that photograph wasn't there anymore, because at some point you thought, I don't really need this, someone else might as well have it. That quiet feeling in your chest right now, that little pause, is exactly what we're talking about today. As we get older, many of us start hearing the same advice over and over. Simplify your life, downsize, give things away while you still can. And on the surface, it sounds sensible, even responsible. We don't want to burden our children, we don't want clutter, we want to feel light and free. But what almost no one talks about is the emotional cost of giving away possessions too early, before you're truly ready, before you understand what those things still do for you. This matters because your possessions are not just objects, they are anchors. They remind you of who you are, what you've lived through, and the value you still carry. When seniors give away these things too soon, the regret often doesn't show up immediately. It creeps in quietly, months or even years later, when something feels missing and you can't quite name it at first. Let's talk about the first reason this regret runs so deep. Many people don't realize how much their sense of identity is tied to what they own until it's gone. That old set of tools in the garage might look like clutter to someone else, but to you, it's proof of decades of fixing, building, providing. That collection of books isn't just paper and ink, it's a record of curiosity, growth, and quiet evenings that meant something. When these things disappear, it can feel like pieces of your story have been erased. You might find yourself thinking, who am I now if all the things that showed what I did, what I loved, are gone? There's also the emotional timing that no one warns you about. Giving things away feels good when it's your idea, when you're in control, when you feel strong. But life changes, energy changes, health changes, and sometimes what you gave away during a confident phase becomes a source of sadness during a quieter one. A chair you used to sit in every morning, a set of dishes you used for every holiday, a piece of jewelry you wore through the most important moments of your life. Later, on a slower afternoon, you might reach for that comfort and realize it's no longer there. That's when regret begins to settle in, not loudly, but steadily. Another painful reason seniors regret giving away possessions too early is the shift in how others treat them afterward. This is a hard truth, but it deserves to be spoken gently and honestly. Possessions represent independence. When you start giving away too much, too soon, people around you may unconsciously see you as someone who is winding down, rather than someone still living fully. Decisions may slowly start being made for you instead of with you. It's subtle, but it's real. Holding on to certain things isn't about greed or clutter. It's about maintaining your place in the world as a capable, whole person. There's also the expectation that once you give something away, you'll feel relieved. And sometimes you do, for a while, but relief is not the same as peace. Relief is temporary. Peace comes from knowing you honored your own pace, not someone else's timeline. Many seniors say they felt pressured, either by family, friends, or even articles online, to start letting go. They didn't stop to ask themselves whether they were emotionally ready, only whether it seemed logical. And logic alone is a poor guide when it comes to memory and meaning. You might be thinking, but I don't want my children to have to deal with all this someday. That comes from a good heart, but here's something rarely said. Your children don't just inherit objects, they inherit stories. When everything is already gone, they lose the chance to understand you more deeply through the things you loved and kept. Sometimes holding on a little longer is not selfish at all. It's a gift of connection. And then there's the quiet comfort that familiar objects bring, especially as routines shrink and social circles get smaller. When days become quieter, the objects around you often become companions of sorts. A lamp that's always been in the same corner, a radio you've listened to for years. These things provide stability in a world that already feels like it's changing too fast. Removing them prematurely can increase feelings of loneliness, even if you can't immediately explain why. As you sit with all of this, it starts to become clear that the real issue isn't about stuff. It's about control, dignity, memory, and emotional safety. It's about making choices that support you, not just choices that look practical on paper. And once you begin to see that, another layer of this topic gently comes into focus, one that many seniors only recognize after it's too late, and it deserves just as much care and attention.
There's another layer to this that often surprises people, and it has to do with how life actually unfolds after possessions are gone. Many seniors imagine a future that stays steady, predictable, and manageable, but real life rarely works that way. Circumstances shift. A move that seemed unlikely suddenly becomes necessary. A period of independence is followed by a time when comfort and familiarity matter more than ever. In those moments, the items you once gave away can't simply be replaced, no matter how much money or goodwill is involved. One of the deepest regrets comes from realizing that replacements never feel the same. You can buy another chair, another watch, another set of dishes, but it won't carry the weight of memory. It won't remember your hands, your habits, your history. Seniors often say, "I thought I could just get another one if I needed it," but what they really needed wasn't the object itself. It was the feeling of continuity, of being surrounded by a life that still felt like their own. There's also the emotional imbalance that can quietly develop after giving things away. At first, people around you may praise you. They might say how generous you are, how thoughtful, how prepared. That feels good. But later, when you realize you want something back, even just emotionally, there's often embarrassment. You don't want to ask. You don't want to seem difficult or sentimental. So you stay quiet. And that silence can turn into a heavy sense of loss that you carry alone. Another reason regret grows is that giving away possessions often happens during moments of pressure. A suggestion from a family member, a conversation after a health scare, a comment about what will happen eventually. Decisions made during emotional vulnerability tend to overlook long-term emotional needs. What feels like a clean, responsible choice in the moment can feel rushed and incomplete later on. Seniors frequently say they wish they had waited, even 6 months, just to see how they felt. There's also something important about daily usefulness. Certain possessions give structure to your day. A set of tools encourages small projects. A sewing machine invites creativity. A well-used desk signals purpose. When these things disappear, days can feel longer, emptier, less defined. This isn't about being busy for the sake of it. It's about feeling engaged with life. Too much letting go can unintentionally lead to disengagement, which can quietly affect mood, confidence, and even health. Many people don't realize how strongly possessions are tied to autonomy. When you own what you need, you decide how your day goes. When those things are gone, you start relying more on others for small things. That shift can feel uncomfortable, even if help is offered kindly. Seniors often describe a subtle sense of shrinking, as if their world has become smaller than it needs to be. Holding on to meaningful items can help preserve a feeling of self-direction that's deeply important at any age. There's also the issue of future self versus present self. The person you are today may feel ready to let go, but the person you'll be in 5 or 10 years might feel very differently. As physical strength changes, emotional attachments often grow stronger, not weaker. Familiar surroundings become grounding.
objects become touchstones. When those are already gone, the adjustment can be much harder. Regret often comes from realizing you made a decision for a version of yourself that no longer exists. Another painful realization many seniors share is that generosity doesn't always lead to appreciation. You might give something away believing it will be cherished, only to later find out it was sold, discarded, or forgotten. Even when that information comes accidentally, it can hurt deeply, not because of ownership, but because of meaning. What mattered to you didn't matter in the same way to someone else. That disconnect can feel like a quiet betrayal, even if no harm was intended. There's also a social aspect that's rarely discussed. When possessions disappear, so do certain conversations. Visitors stop asking about your collections, your projects, your past. Those items often serve as bridges to storytelling and connection. Without them, interactions can become shorter, more surface level. Seniors sometimes feel less seen after they've stripped their surroundings down too far, even though they were told it would make life simpler. As these realizations settle in, a different question begins to form, one that's far more important than "what should I give away?" The question becomes, what do I still need to feel whole, safe, and grounded? That question doesn't have the same answer for everyone, and it shouldn't. It requires honesty, patience, and a willingness to trust your own feelings over outside expectations. And once you begin asking it, you naturally start thinking about how to move forward in a way that protects not just your space, but your well-being too.
By the time you reach this point in your life, you've earned the right to make choices that serve you, not just choices that look tidy or responsible to others. That's why the most important shift isn't about holding on to everything or giving everything away. It's about slowing down and choosing with intention. Many seniors who avoid regret do one simple thing differently. They give themselves permission to pause. They don't rush decisions about their belongings. They live with them a little longer and notice how those items still support their daily comfort, their routines, and their sense of self. One gentle approach is to separate what truly feels meaningful from what only feels expected. Sometimes we keep things because we think we should, and sometimes we give things away for the very same reason. Instead of asking, "Will someone else want this?" try asking, "Does this still bring me comfort, usefulness, or joy right now?" If the answer is yes, that item is still serving a purpose, and there's no deadline that says you must stop allowing that. It's also important to recognize that your needs are allowed to change. Holding on to something today doesn't mean you're committing to it forever. It simply means you're honoring the present version of yourself. Seniors who feel at peace with their decisions often adopt a mindset of flexibility rather than finality. They understand that life unfolds in stages, and each stage deserves its own space, both physically and emotionally. Another powerful way to avoid regret is to keep control over the process. Instead of giving things away all at once, consider sharing stories alongside them. If and when you do decide to pass something on, doing it with context can be deeply fulfilling. Explaining why an item mattered to you, what memories it holds, and what it meant during your life can transform a simple handoff into a meaningful exchange. This often brings a sense of closure rather than loss. It also helps to resist the pressure of comparison. Just because someone else has downsized doesn't mean their path is right for you. Every life is different. Every emotional landscape is different. Some people feel lighter with fewer possessions. Others feel safer and more grounded with familiar surroundings. Neither is wrong. Regret tends to appear when we ignore our own instincts in favor of someone else's version of what aging should look like. If you're unsure, it's okay to test the waters gently. Putting something in storage for a while, rather than giving it away permanently, can be very revealing. You'll quickly notice whether you miss it, whether your days feel different without it. This kind of trial gives you information without forcing a permanent decision.
Many seniors wish they had given themselves that option instead of making irreversible choices too quickly. There's also something deeply empowering about acknowledging that your life still matters exactly as it is. You are not a burden for owning things that make your days richer. You are not behind for wanting familiarity. Your comfort, dignity, and emotional well-being are not luxuries, they are necessities. When you view your possessions through that lens, decisions become calmer and clearer. As you think about all of this, remember that regret usually isn't about the object itself. It's about the feeling of having let go of something before you were ready. That's a feeling you deserve to avoid. You've spent a lifetime building memories, relationships, and meaning. Protecting the pieces of that life that still nourish you is a form of self-respect. If this topic has touched something personal for you, you're not alone. Many people carry these thoughts quietly. If you feel comfortable, share your experience or your perspective in the comments. Your story might help someone else feel less alone in their own decisions. And if you found this conversation helpful, take a moment to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We share thoughtful, honest discussions like this to help you navigate this stage of life with confidence and clarity. No matter where you are in your journey, remember this: it's never too late to choose yourself. Small, thoughtful decisions can protect your peace and preserve your sense of home. Here's to living with intention, comfort, and dignity at every age.